Hello and welcome to day 5 of my 10-day video challenge. And day 5 is 10 things you couldn't live without and why. Which is an interesting question. Now, I've read ahead and I happen to know that day 6 is 10 things you couldn't go the day without. So that puts some kind of boundary on living without something. It's clearly something that I need in my life, but not something that I would pass away if it was denied me for an entire day. And if you really think about it, the things that you need in your life are probably food, water, oxygen, and shelter if you live in a country like Australia. So that would be quite a boring list, factual as it would be, and thought-provoking as it might be. So I'm going to interpret the question as being things that I need to maintain my quality of life and to make me a happy Sammy. So number 1 would probably be, as anybody that knows me even vaguely would probably already know, would be wine. I'd like to put that in the can't live without but can go a day without category. Partly because otherwise I have some issues to work on, and I don't really want to work on them because I like wine. It relaxes me and it gets me through the stress of the day and of basically being in existence. Number 2 is Tumblr, another thing that gets me through the stress of existing, and I can go a day without Tumblr, but I do miss it if I'm not with it, and it's taught me a lot about how to live and how to be nice and how to be human and how to be reasonable and generally how to be. And I've learned a lot from Tumblr, and who knows, maybe one day I'll move on from it, and I probably do. I move on from everything, but for now, I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. Books. I couldn't live without books. Now, I don't actually read a lot. I like to read and I like to learn from books, so most of the books I read are probably non-fiction, but I'm not a big reader, not an avid reader, just a person who believes that reading is a very good thing to do. Olive oil. I couldn't cook without olive oil. I don't know what I'd do without it in my cupboard. I've always got a bottle or two, and there isn't another oil that does the same job, that tastes the same, provides the same kind of cooking, and I realise how middle class that is, but that's something I've got to live with. Salt and pepper, more things I couldn't live without, couldn't cook without. I don't believe it's actually really possible to make a nice tasting dish without the addition of salt and pepper. Technology. Beyond Tumblr, I couldn't live without technology. Not only is it where my career is, so it's quite important to me in terms of my livelihood, but it's also just something that supports me. It's something I understand, sort of just generally have a natural grip of, I guess, regardless of high tech like computers or lower tech like cars. I just, without any real training, I can figure them out, and I like that. Number 7 is coffee. Now, 12 months ago, I hated coffee. I couldn't drink it. I hated the taste. Didn't think it was necessary. Then I sort of got this job that was incredibly busy and stressful, and I started fighting with my sleep schedule. And coffee is a wonderful, 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 wonderful thing that I hate how dependent I am upon it. But I like to think that I can go a day without it, even though that day is usually slow and full of headaches. Tim Minchin. Now, I think it might be an exaggeration, so I couldn't live without him, but his philosophy and his way of being has been quite an influence on my life, and I think he's shown me how you can marry the ideas of being cynical and having no tolerance for hypocrisy and stupidity while still being human and having a deep respect for other people and personal opinions and things like that. He balances on that line quite well, and I try to follow his example on that. And it's his birthday next week, so I thought I should mention him. Tim, if you're watching, if you want to come over for a drink, feel free. Rain. I couldn't live without rain, and I really miss it since moving away from England, the country where it rains 4 or 5 days a week, to Australia, the country where it rains for 1 month solid every 6 months or so. It's very different, and I like that in Brisbane, at least, when it rains, it really rains, whereas in England it's sort of, 90% of the time it's that fine rain that isn't really anything that stops you doing anything fun. And variety. I couldn't live without variety. As I mentioned, I move on from everything very quickly, and I do get bored very quickly, and I can stick with things, but I need other things to be fresh, and I always need something to be different, and I always need some new stimulus. And I have the most obscene of attention spans, and it's just part of me and something I've learned to cope with, but it does mean I need a lot of variety in my life. So let's keep things fresh and fun.